What's going on, world? So, I meant to do this a while ago, but I never got to it. There's also another guy who did some good stuff on it. But Bounding into Comics has come up with this AI survey that gathers information around, the web through Twitter, Facebook. Obviously, there's millions of people involved into this, but it's cool that it was able to grab like, maybe a couple 100,000, aspects from people and around that range, probably about 100,000, 150,000, 200,000 people maybe, and share like the sentiments, whether they were positive or negative. And, according to all of this, because it's called Player XP, Voice of the Player Community Sentiment, as you see, report, Ubisoft is more toxic than players, according to this AI, and I kind of find that funny. But like I said, Bounding into Comics does a good job on this, so I'm gonna, keep bringing you guys more creative aspects and, keep this ball rolling to the game launch as much as possible. Some days I might not do it for like a day or two or so, but I got enough stuff and I'm always keeping up to date. Like I said, I want to do other things on this channel too, sometimes some political stuff, if I feel the need to, but mostly it's going to be video game related. And there's some people wondering if, I'm only going to be doing this. No, because this is just a thing to do right now that I think is right, along with DEI and all this other stuff. Because we don't get this out, it's just going to be terrible. So this is, I think, the most important thing is dealing with DEI and woke agendas coming into the gaming world, affecting the quality of development. It's important, definitely in Western society. Because you don't handle it there, it gets big and it invades everywhere else. You see, that's its roots that it wants to establish it. But on law, guys, I appreciate a sub to this channel, help it grow more and likes. And for those of you that did before, I appreciate that. Like I said, we're gonna be doing big things. Doing a bunch of great games. Next year, I'm doing a whole bunch of Nintendo Switch 2 stuff, whatever it's gonna be called. We're doing Monster Hunter, Wilds for sure. We're gonna be doing GTA. This year, Blue Protocol releases. So I'm gonna be doing that. I'm going to be doing Silent Hill 2. I'm going to be doing Black Myth Wukong. I'm going to use Ubisoft Plus to do Assassin's Creed so I can cover stuff for people so we can, look into it. And I'm going to be using Ubisoft Plus because I'm not buying the games to get Star Wars Outlaw if I feel like it's optimized enough at launch. But we got a lot of games coming, I'm doing Dragon Ball, Sparking Zero, or Budokai Tenkaichi 4. So stoked for that. Cannot wait, and a lot of other Game Pass games that are going to be coming along. Like I got a lot of games coming. I got a lot of stuff coming in the Nintendo world. So look out for that. And like I said, like, subscribe, guys. You're telling you it's going to get awesome. You're going to be seeing me cover more topics that are going to be coming up, whatever that's going to be. Well, now let's get into this.
DEI detected, right? Well, these fellas had a slightly different idea. They wanted the voice of the player to be heard, despite how the corporations might be drowning them out, or how, in fact, they're double speaking, trying to make the player look like the problem. So, here we have it. They've turned their attention on Assassin's Creed Shadows. And for a little bit of a preface to who these people are, this is Gamer XP, founded in 2015 by gamers Chris and Andy. It aims to connect players with the games industry by amplifying their voices through AI-powered reports and engagement metrics. So again, what you're looking at here is not something that somebody's put some skew to. This is just raw data that's been fed into an AI in order to render out a report just like this.
So
Now,
it's
I
not
don't
corrupt.
quite care for their contrast here, this orange
Yeah, the AI is not woke. So we're okay, y'all.
and white is a bit difficult to get through. So the creamsicle color palette, if you will, a bit over the top in my opinion. But here we go. So down here, right, I'm going to move my microphone back so I'm not yelling in your ear. So down here, they just want to explain, like, when you see these marks here, green is good, red is bad, 99 is very bad, negative 99 is very bad, 0 orange is okay if you can differentiate it from the background. And then 99 green, positive 99, obviously, is good, right? You always
Yeah.
want to see green is good. So here's what they learned. Right? Here's what they learned. Data sources overview. Our aim is to be as transparent as possible about what we collect and the analytical data provided from there. For this report, Player XP analyzed 129,633 interactions from various platforms to gauge player sentiment accurately. This is a bigger sample size than you get from Rasmussen, okay?
Yeah, keep in mind too, the second one is where it starts to get interesting because it gets into Ubisoft and some other stuff. So this first one is interesting, but the second one is even more interesting. So stick around.
Rasmussen does about 3,000 people. This is over 100,000 interactions that they have mapped out. This is obviously isn't just one reply chain that they're looking at, okay? And so the chart here is going to show you things from X, Twitter, and Facebook. Okay, well, X and Twitter are the same thing. So it's Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook is what they're going to show you here. TikTok on the other side of this is okay with it, but not to any measurable awesome degree. And as you can see here, here's the graph that they provide. Right here, it's got 87% interactions. They're pretty negative with what's going on with the game. Basically, what we're talking about right here. Sorry, I'm reading it as I'm talking to you. So the situation over here is you get over here 7% sentiment, negative 7%. So the situation is that on Twitter, there's a lot more people that are pro Yasuke, right? They get over on the YouTube. They don't want to make videos being pro Yasuke. They just don't feel the need to, I guess. You know, who needs to defend a guy who's had his life ripped away from him and his name ripped away from him and rewritten by people who look like me in order to tell people who look like him that they belong somewhere in the world. That, you know what? The Japanese already have a culture there. Guess what? Okay? Sorry. The Japanese already.
Props to him for, going right into that because that's exactly what's happening is disrespecting the dead. He's not doing any of this. It's like what I tell people all the time where like it's like, bro, do you know who you're supporting? It's not like you're sitting in there developing and programming. As a black person, you can't, you don't, you know what I mean? You can't do that. And people getting happy about Miles Morales, I was like, but it's still made by a Caucasian, like at the end of the day. So it doesn't matter. Like when they try to push things the other way with the racist stuff, it's like, what are you talking about? Like that's a stupid idea because the video game industry is Caucasian and Asian and always has been. You know what I mean? And anyone else that's in there is qualified to be in there. You know what I mean? But not today, though, obviously, because stuff is very cancerous. When we talk about this DEI woke crap, it used to be like that back then, but now that's not the case anymore, and that's why you see the quality going down big time. And I'm talking about the gay stuff, the trans stuff, the white dyke nonsense, all this type of stuff. Layoffs, replacing other people for cheaper labor, and getting rid of people who don't want to comply with that, even though they've probably carried the company for a while. It can get that crazy, literally.
Have a culture there. Surprise. You could join it, you'll be a guest there, but don't try to come in like Ubisoft did, because look what happens, right? Now, this comes in tandem as we found out that they've totally screwed over the Sekigahara Rifle Corps. Remember those guys with the flag that stolen by Ubisoft and put into their art book? Well, they
Mm-hmm.
told those guys, "Oh, too bad, we already printed it. Oops, we've already printed it. We're very sorry for hurting your fifis," and then they just let them go. So they just told these guys, we took your culture, we stole it. Like, here's the kicker, too, is their website offers the ability to ask permission to use that symbol. But Ubisoft was like, who cares? We're French. We don't need to pay attention to these Japanese. They don't know what they're talking about. We couldn't even give them their own Japanese assassin in order to handle the Japanese problems of the Sengoku era. We had to bring in Yasuke because, after all, non-Japanese eyes are the only way to tell that story. Right? And you can see how well
And make them gay. So, like I said, it's the same thing as tokenism. We know what that is. But, it's like I was saying just recently, at the end of the day, you have to understand who the developers are, who you're supporting, and what they're trying to display to you, and who's fabricating and narrating everything. These are not Japanese people doing this. They're not going to do that. So we need to look at this as an issue that is rooted in a big issue that is rooted and mainly in Western society and has invaded Asia too, because we saw what Square Enix did with Forspoken. Even with some of the games like Life is Strange and other games, though they let some of them go. Even like what's going on with Sony when they were teaming up with Sweet Baby Inc. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's not like the Japanese have not teamed up with them, but it's just not massive. But it's companies that have also done Western deals before too. Because Square is known to do that. They even invaded Capcom a little bit, but not to the point to where they're hurting them. And Nintendo refuses to allow that, which is why I love Nintendo. I've been gaming since, I told you guys, 1994. I love Nintendo the most. They're still the heart and soul of gaming by a mile. But yeah, the thing is that, like I said, where they're invading the most is in Western society. And what I want people to understand too is that what's invading is not gaming developers that love gaming. It's people who hate gaming and want to destroy it. It's those that have nothing to do with gaming Always remember that. And they're getting paid. It's like a mafia invasion. And we need to get it the hell out.
Oh, that's going over because look at this negative 55 on Boomer Book. Wow, how about that? The old folks on Boomer Book are not happy about this. Zuckerbook, whatever you want to call it. It's Facebook's no. I don't. Who uses this anymore?
I don't
Who is
know.
using
It's
this?
been a
Like
decade
really?
for
Like I
me.
know you're watching this on Facebook, but come on.
Longer than that, probably.
It's clearly tilted against you. I don't know why you use it. Player XP, the talking points that were most discussed here. Now you can see all the way over here, you see that black bar? That's the negative percentage. The middle bar there, that peachy color, that means that they're not, you know, yeah, I don't care, not really tilted one way or the other about it, doesn't bother me. And then the green obviously is an improvement. What you notice immediately on this chart, if you're not able to look at the screen, perhaps you're looking at this as a podcast, just listening to it while you drive. The biggest middle part of this, I'll give you a rundown. So here you go. On the topic of Japan, 70% of people were like, I don't care. 10% of people were like, I'm cool with that. And 20% of people were like, no, this isn't working. Okay. And this was in relations to Yasuke, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and Ubisoft all together. Now they're just going to isolate this down to.
That's because Japan's biggest problem is not Yusuke. You know what I mean? But that's people that want to narrate that over here that have small mindsets and say stupid stuff like racism and, all this dumb stuff. And it's like, it's just a narrow-minded point of view. And then you have some people that, even after everything that's been revealed, but because they're ignorant, I'll probably ignore it, still want to live in that type of mindset because they can't see the bigger picture on anything. They don't even care about any of that. They're just closed-minded, boxed in, and only see a one-way street of it just being about Yasuke, and that needs to be represented in a political identity mindset, and that's pretty much it. And if you're not with that, then they immaturely want to throw hollow labels on you because they're not intelligent enough to comprehend anything past that. And it's just the truth. You have to say that. And you would wish that they would, but some people are just that dumb. You have to come to terms with that. That's the nice way to say it.
Ubisoft by itself. 60% of people were, I don't care whatsoever. 12% of people were positive about Ubisoft, but 28% were absolutely negative toward Ubisoft. On the topic of Yasuke, 76% didn't care either way, and you'll come to know that this isn't really the problem with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Yasuke being the protagonist is annoying because of the way that they totally rewrote his life. However, the bigger problem is that he's part of the greater concert of abuse that Ubisoft is practicing on the nation of Japan.
They wanted you to make this the big thing. That's why they had Yuri Yama come out doing all that, paying them, flood the Twitter and get that trending. So they want you to see that as the bigger problem so you can ignore what the big problem actually is. This is called taking the minute and small, where there's only 2 pages of history about him. He's not even that important. You know what I mean? That's just a reality. You know what I mean? They're making him be this is all this garbage. Like, he's not that important. He's literally irrelevant, and you should have just left him alone because it's literally like not important. It's not really an issue. But when you want to manipulate somebody, then you try to turn their head to something that doesn't really matter, so that they can ignore what really matters. You never want them to see what really matters. That's how liars work and manipulators and deceivers work. That's how the devil works. They get you to turn your head to never see the truth and get you to get distracted on the mundane. And then they magnify stuff that's not important and get it trending and popular. That's how evil works.
And culture and history. And this is the problem that we have with them. And that's why 76% of this chart do not care about Yasuke, really. It's kind of the theme of his history. It's a very sad thing to say, but we only know 3 paragraphs about this guy, and nothing said that he was a legend whatsoever. I digress. We'll get back into this. So, on the topic of historical accuracy, again, here we are. 21% of people found this to be negative about this, okay? Now, this is the second highest on this chart behind Ubisoft. 71% didn't care one way or another about the historical thing. However, way down at 8% were being positive about the historical representation here. And you know who those people are. Those are the blue hairs that were part of the development team. And now you get the Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole. 19% of people are negative against this. 62% are, I don't really care anymore. And 19% on the other side, again, are positive about it. So this doesn't look great.
This just gives you a general consensus of the bigger whole, but there's more negative than what this shows. But this is still good just to have because it's raw data and it's not biased. It's being honest with you, and that's what matters. I would take any type of raw, unbiased data. Japan, I know you guys will agree with me. Just show me the goddamn truth. Don't come in here with all this bullshit. I just want to see the damn truth, and that's it. All this unnecessary stuff, unnecessary distractions, let's get right to the heart of the matter and let's stick to that as long as we can. That's how I like to operate, right here. And I want to get to the light, and I want to get the garbage exposed, and I want things to be set right. That's me. It's sunlight, yeah.
Right for Ubisoft. They're not impressing anybody, but they're also not moving people from the good to bad or bad to good either. This could go one way or another for them as it goes forward. And they even provided quotes about this. This is Player XP's sample quotes from a YouTube video. It says, "We cannot accept a fabricated story set in a fantasy setting that is different from Japan and mixes Asia being advertised as a faithful historical fact." Now, you remember, Ubisoft stressed that they brought in all these cultural experts, all these historical experts, and then told us, no, it's all fantasy. We just brought them around because we like to party with these nerds.
What they think is
that what happened? No? Okay.
Experts for DEI.
Ubisoft can't even tell us what their intention is. But here's another quote. "Everyone knows that Assassin's Creed is historical fiction. It's the disrespect to and misrepresentation of Japanese culture that has always been the issue here." And that's the case. Despite that big chunk in the middle that doesn't seem to care, the people that are on the negative end of this have been the most vocal about the situation as a whole. And so, the talking points on these categories gets a little teeny tiny, little itty bitty. So we'll just move over here to what the interactions, positive, neutral, negative, and sentiment is about Ubisoft as a company, as you know, the abuse toward the Japanese. What's going on here? Because they broke this down to like developer focused, right? Rather than just like asking the AI that synthesized this report there, that brought everything down, distilled it into a you know, what we have here in front of us. What we have instead is they have focused on Ubisoft's representation of these things, not just the global understanding of them. So here's a further distillation, and this is pretty stunning, okay? So of the people that were directly referencing this whole Assassin's Creed situation under the Ubisoft terms, 48% are negative about Ubisoft, okay? Only 7% are being positive about them, leaving 43 in the I don't really care category, all right? Now, on the Japanese, how they're being treated by Ubisoft, again, this is the Japanese through the lens of Ubisoft that we're talking about in this regard. 46% were negative with how Ubisoft was treating Japan, okay? Only 7% were positive about it. Again, this is a further distillation. What we saw above was just kind of a global sampling of the conversation around Ubisoft, around Yasuke, around Japan, around the Sengoku era. This is directly referencing these things. No longer are there just like general conversations. This is direct interaction. And so what this is that, how do you feel about Ubisoft's interaction with history? And it says 47% are negative about it, all right? Leaving, again, only 6% that are being positive about this. How do they feel about support and being supported by Ubisoft? Are you getting any like feedback? Do you feel listened to? And 43% said no, only 6% said yes, and 60% said, I don't really care. So you have a lot of apathy in the people that are paying attention to this, right? And that can't be good for Ubisoft, because honestly, you'd rather know that they don't like you so you could try to make a pitch to bring them back, or you'd rather know that they do like you so you can make a pitch to keep them. Having them in the middle is probably one of the most stressful places to be, especially with that giant number in the I don't care category. And then when it comes to Yasuke, 41% were very upset with how he was being handled. I'm one of those people. I don't think this guy should have had his name stolen from him and then rewritten to be something acceptable to Westerners. I think his story is miraculous, although easily forgotten in the grand scheme of how much history and how rich the history of Japan is. Yasuke, while isn't a massive player in that historical history, is important to this particular historical history, right? Put that on a bumper sticker. But this particular chapter in history, that's a better word. Yasuke is I wouldn't say a major part, but he is like a supporting character, if you will, to Nobunaga's story. It further explains who Nobunaga is, rather than Yasuke himself being his own pillar of Japanese culture that just somehow made it through, never being talked about, celebrated, or really explained in any great detail at any functional level of academia.
That's the thing. It's like using the magnifying aspect of the glory of Nobunaga, the magnifying aspect and the glory of the Assassin's Creed franchise, the magnifying aspect of a rich culture of Japanese history, the magnifying aspect of political chicanery, DEI woke agendas, the magnifying aspect of the gaming industry. But you see what I mean? If you just take all that out and just look at his little documents, it's not important. This is what they do though. They make things dramatic and take something that is not really that big of a deal. And it's not an insult. No, it's more like this would it should have been. You should just left him alone. He's just a regular guy, a regular slave that went through and was able to actually find some solace with Nobunaga and Japanese history, and Japanese culture because he didn't go to Japan on his own. He didn't even know how the hell to get there. You know what I mean? There's no way it would have happened. No. The people that knew how to get to Japan took him there, which who were the Jesuits of Rome. So you know what I mean? So like when I see people just over focus on this nonsense, and I had to do it so I can kill all the garbage, it's just like, yeah, this shows how petty you are. You know what I mean? Because that's all your little small mind can see. Because they're just trying to focus on something that is insignificant. It's not that important. No, we need to get to the most important thing. And then you have to like get on the subject so much because there's so much ignorance in this world and so much brainwashing in this world. And we see, like you say, the biggest, like you said, the biggest focus here is these points right here against Ubisoft. The mistreatment of somebody who's not here. The mistreatment of the Japanese culture, the mistreatment of the Japanese male, the mistreatment of, all these important things right here. I mean, we're seeing more black up in here, all into the negative. Because this is what matters. And this is a general consensus. Like I said, this is just raw, honest data.
In any serious manner beyond research. Okay? I just want to note that Yasuke is not somebody who's taught in school. They don't pause history class and be like, "Did you know?" They don't do that. They're just kind of like, if you want to know, if you heard about that, that's neat. There's a couple books about
No,
that. One
it's
of
not
them's
that
fiction by
important. It's
Thomas
not going to make
Locke.
anybody's life better
It's
or anything.
fiction,
It's
by
not
the way.
important.
Remember that. In Japan, it's fiction. And here we go.
Literally.
7% of people are positive about the treatment of Yasuke, leaving 52% to be like, I don't care. And you'll find, again, like with most of what this chart has shown us, most people are kind of in the middle of the road about it. That's not the preferable place to be. You want to have like a definite yes or no on this. Otherwise, you'll end up spending money on.
I agree with him on that. It's just like people that say they don't know what's right and wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about? There's clear right and there's clear wrong. If not, you're just confused. Which way do I want to turn on the street? I don't know which way I want to turn on the street. I don't know. I'm never going to make a decision. You're going to cause up a whole bunch of traffic. You know what I mean? And then, like, the morality sense. I'm not going to go off topic here, but it's just understanding, right? This is the type of world we're living in now where people are this lost and confused. You got some people that really believe that there is no objectivity and everything is subjective. You know what I mean? There's no objective truth. It's like, what are you talking about? And there's no objective right or wrong. Oh, then to me, you're just highly confused, And I'm thinking about doing a video on that because I have a good example of that. But basically, what I'm saying is like, there's a side in life. Everything is twos. That's why you have a choice because you have to choose one or the other. If you didn't have a choice, you know what I mean? Then you're not choosing anything. But the fact that there's a choice tells you there's a right and there's a wrong. The fact that there's consequences. Some people don't even have to believe in karma, but there is a mirror and people go through things. You know what I mean? You have a moral compass built in you that's given to you by the creator. But there's going to be some people that have atheist mindsets and think that there's just not moral objectivity, right? And it's like, okay, well then the serial killer and the rapist and the pedophile, he thinks it's right. So you really want to start playing that game because you don't want to play that game with evil. You're not allowed to be safe in your room right now. Somebody thinks it's wrong, is going to come in and gun down everything. Do you want to play that game? You don't want to play that game with evil, trust me. There's objective right and there's objective wrong. This is what right here is being done is wrong. That's why I say I had to go deep into it because we got to bring people back into their common sense, man, because it's not so common today. It's just ridiculous, you know? And I'm not against somebody wanting to be an atheist because guess what? That's your free will of choice. Is it wrong to me? Yes. I think it's delusional. I think it's people that just want to morally do what they want and not suffer the consequences. But other than that, we're not gonna get too far off topic. But that's just the thing, like because when we get to these type of mindsets, what is right or wrong, it's like, hold on, let's go back to your moral standpoint because that does matter. That's why it does matter. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, you have these type of mindsets. I think if you represent something that's light and intelligent or whatever, you're going to have a moral objectivity, and it doesn't have to be called God. We know that there's a creator. You know what I mean? I'm in tune with it big time. But when you're in tune with something of a higher power that has a sense of right and wrong, then you know when something's right or wrong. But the people that are not in tune with that, they're just going to, not want to fight for anything. Not my mindset.
Stolen goods. Again, I understand you're not going to go to jail for accessory to theft. Ubisoft isn't going to jail for theft, but that is stealing from someone else's culture, especially when the Sekigahara Rifle Corps made it available to them. Like everybody, you can go there and just ask for permission to use it. They just like to know what you're using it for. It's important to them. It's a piece of their history. They invest a lot of time and money into reenacting the Sekigahara Rifle Corps. They
Yeah.
probably don't want it associated with a strip club. Seems reasonable, right? To just like, hey, just let us know what you're using it for. You're good to use it. Just let us
Yeah.
know. Seems reasonable. Ubisoft's like, screw you, Jappy. Screw you. Not doing it. I love the French. They're so cool. Anyway, Yasuke
Yeah.
as a whole.
They've been
All
pretty
right. So
negative
the
lately.
sentiment about him is in the negatives, the toxicity around him. Again,
But that's not against the common French that do good. You know what I mean? But we're just talking about leaders here, people in high positions. But there's definitely been a lot of controversy in France. I mean, they have the biggest controversy game of the year. They got the biggest controversy event almost of all time, or like one of with the Olympics. I mean, I feel sorry for people in France that want to do good. God damn, man.
like toxicity. You got to love the AI. The toxicity around him is low, and this is what they note in here, okay? So we'll read the highlighted portion instead of the big old chunk here. And it says, it is important to highlight that the historical accuracy of the character Yasuke has ignited significant debate within the broader Ubisoft Assassin's Creed community. The broader concerns about the game's historical accuracy are represented through this character. The issue of the character's ethnicity in Assassin's Creed Shadows has been heavily debated. However, our toxicity tool has shown the community has less toxic than the industry average, okay? So when it comes to like your Halo bros and your Smash bros, Smash bros, you know, those guys, apparently people complaining about Yasuke, like me, people are complaining about Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ubisoft's general caretaking of their own brand. Not as bad. Not as bad as what else is going on in the world. Now that you really have to pause and remember, we're talking about a black guy, okay? And now the conversation around that hasn't devolved into a space that's worse than the conversation that was going on around Hades 2 and what was going on around Eve there, Stellar Blade. Okay, so
That's because most people know the truth and about this conversation. And when you have a lot of Japan getting involved, it's going to be more intelligent, which is why they have some of the highest IQs on the planet. I just have to say it. It's an intelligent culture, and it shows through development, production, top visited spots in the world, knowing how to team up with Western society, and just finding betterment and finding more light within their culture compared to what it used to be 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. There's more light there than there's ever been in that type of sense. Though, of course, you could have higher up in officials because evil is everywhere. You know, you can't, it's just part of what the whole world is dealing with. But when you see that light, it's just nice to see that coming out. And like I said, me being, in tune with what I'm in tune with, I could see it, right inside and say, yeah, I see the love and the light there. I see the care for their own culture. I see wanting to stick to mostly their own culture and maybe allowing individuals like myself or somebody to be like, yeah, he's respectable. I know that he's not going to damage our culture, and that's important because when you have that and you love, there's a lot of love in your culture and there's a lot of respect. It shows by the quality of your development and why people want to go there. Just like there was a lot of love in the American society and in the Caucasian race and people that founded this because everybody in their damn mama from all these other cultures that failed just didn't have the love and just lost their Christ consciousness and their protection. They fell down. Now all of them want to swarm to America. Now they're bringing all their problems over here, and look at what's happened. Look at what happened in the UK. So when you see those places, people come over there because you have a lot of love and you have that higher power connection and that light coming out. So they're coming to live better lives because they didn't do it. But I can't stand ungrateful people to come over here when your culture is dumpster fire and you want to try to attack another culture when you can't do what they do. You want to come live in their world and be rude and disrespect them. What the hell is your culture doing? It's dumpster fire. You know what I mean? You live in a way better life than they could ever provide you, your own damn people, because there's a lack of love there. There's a lack of unity. There's a lack of fatherhood, and fatherhood goes back to the Creator. It goes back to Christ. So if people want to have a different name for that, or just say the son of the Creator, whatever. You know, every culture has a son, and every culture has a Creator. But at the end of the day, we need to understand there's a Creator, and the Creator has a love for His creation, just like a father has love for his children. You know what I mean? And when that's missing in a culture, that's not good. It's a problem.
This is pretty astonishing to sit here and see like an AI, like, you know how they are, like they're totally programmed with the Globo stuff. So here you go. Get the AI admitting that it's not that bad. People kind of have a point. They're not
Yeah.
that evil about what they're saying about this guy. It's actually kind of healthy, the conversation that's happening. That's astonishing, really. I think you need to take a minute and appreciate the fact that a lot of people have maintained control in this situation. And finally, they close out their report with this. You do know that Yasuke served as a retainer for the Japanese daimyo Oda Nobunaga for a period of 15 months between 1581 and 1582. This is quote from a YouTube official, all right? From YouTube. Not a YouTube official, just a quote from the official, whatever. They say YouTube official there. I assume they mean something important. I don't know what. So here we go.
Yeah, that's all right.
But this is how they close it out. And what's important here is that an AI synthesized this, right? An AI put all of this together. They made it look pretty. It distilled all the information for them. When I say synthesize, I mean they put all this information together. Not that they faked it, right? Synthesizer gets mixed up with that instrument. This is not it. What they've made is they put this all together into a format that we can read, a distillation of it, if you will. And so that's what this is. And then the takeaway, guys, the takeaway is that we're not the problem. Ubisoft is the problem, and players aren't feeling heard.
Yeah, they're the one
You know,
doing this.
it says right here up at the top, it says, however, concerns around these categories and intricately linked to Ubisoft's brand reputation, which has been impacted by similar issues in previous.
But you have people thinking that the problem on this is because of the way people think that Yusuke is the main character and that's racist. It's like, if that's what your mind sees, then it just shows how dumb you are. And I just have to be honest, because that is dumb. And that's people that, like I said, that's all they see. They don't see anything else. Ubisoft targets them. And they come in all size, shapes, and colors. But um, we need to look at the highest ratio percentage. And like I said, it's pretty bad. Like I said, who's behind this? Not real gaming developers. This is the gay satanic mafia tokenism society. These are the white dyke woke liberals. These are people who hate gaming that are invading it that already got paid off. They want to destroy it.
Titles. So again, they're referencing over there at Star Wars Outlaws about how this trash has spilled over into the Assassin's Creed Shadows discussion about how Ubisoft is completely off the rails.
This is not the Ubisoft I know. And I know the CEO of Ubisoft fucking knows that. I know he doesn't like it. But guess what? When you're dealing with these higher principalities, because that's what this is, principalities of evil in the heavenly realms, like they said, coming down to earth, or if you want to talk science, aliens and higher civilizations from outer space coming down and colonizing and invading. You can speak whatever terms you want. It's the same thing because it's the same deities that are doing that. It don't matter the label. It is still the same uh, actions and patterns happening. So that's how we want to look at it. And that's just the truth. People can deny it all they want. But if you think this planet is only just human beings, then you are asleep to me. But all in all, this pretty much covers everything. Let me know what y'all think about this. I'm glad to cover this. Like I said, like, subscribe. You like this type of content. I'll be bringing you more. I know I'm going deep on it, but guess what? You got to because this is what you're dealing with. This is what is doing this. So we got to put some light out there. All right, y'all. Peace out.